Okay. Larry finished up with 5, and that had to deal with the husband and wife relationship as the family. And Paul goes into chapter 6, and he's talking about children and the parent relationship with the child. Somebody read me the first verse of chapter 1.
Children, obey your parents.
No. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Then you can read chapter 6 also.
So
Ephesians 1:1.
Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the will of God, to the saints who are in Ephesus and faithful in Christ Jesus.
Okay, now read 6:1, please. Annette.
Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right.
You see anything different there? The first verse of chapter 1 is the greetings, and he's greeting the saints at Ephesus. But in chapter 1, who's he talking to? To the children. That's a little different. I just thought, it just struck me funny. Because he's talking to the saints, but the children may not be the saints. They may not be baptized. But in any case, he wants to talk to the children. And it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with the promise, and that's in parentheses there, so that's been added. So that it may be well with you, and that you may live long on the earth. Verse 4, I want to read that because I want to say something before we get over there. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. We got one young family here, 2 young families. Are you able to bring your kids up in the Lord nowadays?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you?
In the public school system, you have no control over your kid.
What's that got to do with anything? I don't understand.
How can you bring your kid up if you don't have control over him? That's my point.
Okay.
A teacher's got your kid 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day, 6 hours a day, all week. He's wait. I know what you're saying, and I understand it, and I agree with it, but I'm bringing it up. With today's climate, how can you bring them up in the Lord if they're being indoctrinated, if you feel that way, with stuff at school? That's my point. Yes, Freddie.
My kid brother lived in New York City, and when their daughter was born, he said, I'm out of here. He said, I cannot raise this kid with all this craziness around him. He moved to Maine.
Yeah.
He got about 35, 40 acres out in the middle of nowhere, and until the 10th grade, she was taught by his wife.
Yeah. I have a son living in New York City now with 2 grandsons, and it's driving me crazy. And I've asked him, and he understands. He's in a position that he probably could afford a private school. That's his way out, but he's actually looking now to leave because of the influence. And what, for John, and maybe others, and I'm picking on you, John, a little bit, that may not know what I'm talking about, is you can't even talk to your kids about their health in school because the HEPA rules go down to 12 years old. Yes, Mary?
There is another church in New York City. They claim to be a church of Christ, but they are anything but. So if you're not really careful, you can get into that bunch, and they are God's journey to hell.
Okay.
You mix up with those people, you go to hell. You don't stand a chance.
Mike?
Well, I think to answer your
Okay, in my day, and I'm not as old as some people, like John. I'm getting back at you, John. But we didn't have all of the technology that my 18-month-old granddaughter FaceTimes her grandmother on Shannon's phone. She knows how to do it. So when you get on this contraption, kids at a young age are learning a lot more quicker than you think. And what happens is parents don't think about it. They think this is the babysitter, so here, Larry, until dinner, here, you can play with a phone type of thing. And they learn a lot of stuff, and sometimes you can't control it. What I'm getting at, hang on a second, is you try to train them in the way of the Lord, okay? It says there, for it is right in God's sight. And in the Lord, where it says right above it, it's in what he wants, it's his teaching. It's his will. Now, how can you bring up your kids when you've got an education system that wants to fight you? A lot of people are leaving, and this is just for thought. I'm not trying to get into politics or any of that kind of stuff. I want you to think, question it. Public schools are losing kids, and private schools are expanding. There's so-called Christian schools scattered everywhere. I bet you there's a half dozen just in the Temecula area, when you look at it, where people are getting upset and wanting a better education for their kids. Okay, John, go ahead.
Okay. I know I'm old. I was born in 1943.
I know you're old.
And I started school in 1948. But this is what I want to say. For me, no matter what the teacher said, if it didn't coincide with my parents taught me, I said it didn't make no difference.
Okay.
And I always took what my mother and father said above anybody outside my household.
Sure.
And I think the responsibility resides with the parents. I know that it's a trying time and stuff. And I raised 4 kids. And I ain't had no problem with no school. Matter of fact, I was in the schools all the time, PTA, school site chairman, et cetera, et cetera. And I knew what was going on, and I was talking to the teachers. It's up to the parents. I spent a lot of time at the school with awards and all kinds of junk. So that's my position.
I understand that, and we would hope that the kids would listen to their parents, but when they get to school, there's a thing called peer pressure, and you want to be accepted, and you look up to your teacher because you respect them. And when you're taught and you have other things going on, and if you watch news, you'll see all the time there's something going on in more liberal areas.
Christian adults more than anybody.
What's that?
Look up to Christians. I looked up more to the Christians.
I understand that. I understand that, John. But we're talking about almost 80 years ago difference now.
I'm 83.
Okay. Well. Okay. Excuse me. 75 years ago. Yes, Jake.
Yeah, contextually, looking at this from context, go all the way back to the first chapter, and we talked about Paul talking to the church.
Yeah.
Paul is still talking to the church here in.
Yes.
And in this context, he's actually talking to children that are in the church. So we're not talking to somebody on the outside. Now, everybody reads this.
Okay.
And you probably find people.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't. But I don't know Greek. So the word for child, and I was going to look it up, and this has been a very hectic week, and I didn't, so I apologize. So I don't know. I didn't know. I just thought it was kind of different. I wasn't being negative about it. I just thought it was a little different and stuck out of my mind when he's talking to the saints, how he brings up the kid. Because I don't know how young, if it's in the States.
Contextually, he's still in the church. He's still talking to the church.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, he's still talking to the church. Alice?
I believe that a child can be controlled by loving parents.
Okay.
It's according to what kind of relationship you have with your child, whether you can trust your child to go out into the world
Okay, I agree with that, but kids don't fully develop the brain until later on as a teenager, maybe early 20s.
You're saying that times are so different, but when I was a child coming up in school,
Uh-huh.
there were all kinds of things going on in school,
Okay,
just like there are now.
okay.
Each generation may have different tools or whatever, but it's still the same.
How about drag queens?
Peer
You have drag queens in kindergarten reading stories to them? And I don't mean to be crude, but that happens. Okay? If you get these teachers that want to teach your kids that they can be transgender, and you have nothing to say about it because the school district says we don't have to tell the parent. So they could take your kid off and have something medically done to them that you have no control over. That's what I'm getting at. I'm just trying to bring people's awareness to it because I have to tell you, my daughter is at the school district all the time, keeping things straight because of what they're trying to teach her kids. And that's local. You do, but a kid, as he grows, he's developing his own mind too. I was born and raised in the church, but I got to tell you, I did some things that I wasn't supposed to do. And do I want my kids to do that? No, I didn't want my kids to do that. They don't know what I did because I'm not going to tell them what I did. But it's not wasn't so bad, but every kid goes through a trial and error situation. Every kid wants to push the envelope, especially as a teenager. And I think, I wrote down, if you look at Proverbs 22:6, if you raise up a child in the Lord, he won't stray. I'm paraphrasing it. Does that mean every time he gets to be 21 and he's out on his own, he's going to stay in church if he leaves? You see? I'm just trying to get you to think. That's all. I'm not trying to play the devil's advocate. I'm playing the devil's advocate a little bit, but I'm not pressing. I'm not trying to teach you this is, we should think that way. I want you to think about this because I'm 72 years old, and I'm far away. My days in school, we had the Board of Education. Do you know what the Board of Education was? About 3 foot long, about 6 inches wide, and had some holes in it. Right? That was the Board of Education. I mean, it was a different time, and the loose, I'm going to use the word looseness of the public school districts. What they're doing, it's tough to raise your kids, is all I'm trying to say. I know we got a couple of school teachers here that may feel differently than I do.
Well, it's the amount of Christian time versus non-Christian time that the kid is involved in. So I think that's what your point is in these public schools, there's no Christian time.
Yeah.
Being taught, given to the kids, whereas in a private school, you'll get most.
Well, most private schools, for the most part, are going to be a church type of school, where it's going to be more conservative, and they're not going to be exposed to a lot of stuff. Now, kids are going to experiment anyway, but we do the best we can. I know I did the best I can raising my 4 kids, and I know doggone well they went out and did what they wanted to do. They didn't think I knew it. Ask Shannon. I knew she got a speeding ticket before she did. That's how fast the grapevine was in La Habra. Okay? So, and I'm not, I've been teasing you, John, a little bit there. I hope you take it like that. But I agree with you. I think my experience is a little different when I grew up than the way my grandkids are growing up.
I was involved from grammar school all the way up.
We were too. My dad told me one time, he says, why are you spending all this money on those kids' sports and extracurricular activities?
That's why we used to sit in the classroom sometimes.
Yeah, but I said, Dad, I'm not having to buy an attorney because a lot of my friends' kids that they went to school with, they got into drugs and other things, and they had to have attorneys, and they had this, and they had that, and it was just different. Yes, Molly.
I was just going to say, I worked in a school district for 25 years, and there are so many Christian staff members that they do everything they can to offset the negative. So it's not all negative. There's a lot of really good people that work in the school
if you get in that school district. And I'm not saying that's all the same. I'm not trying to paint you guys with the same brush, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm just talking about what I see on TV and what I read in the newspaper off this. It's hard. It's hard. Okay, and the kid, they're supposed to honor their father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise. What's the promise for honoring your father and your mother? You're going to live a long time. How do you think that's going? How do you think they're going to live a long time by honoring their father and mother?
Your heart is in a different place.
Okay, heart's in a different place. Yes, Mike.
By heeding the warnings.
Heed the warnings. Yeah, because if you listen to what your parents say, they're probably going to keep you safer than if you go out on your own. You're probably not going to have to learn the hard way. And God, it's actually the first commandment of the 10 Commandments where there's a promise with it, and the promise is that you'll live a longer life.
There's something else that you're forgetting. We as parents have to selectively help our children make friends, and we need to encourage our children to be friends with our friends, because if they are friends with other adults, they're going to try along the way something to emulate this other adult.
Okay. My friends growing up, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because I had it happen with my kids. My friends growing up was, guess who? Who were your friends growing up? How many kids you have at Buena Park when you were a kid? Okay, yeah. I went to school. When I went to church, I went. It's like going. When I went to church, it's like socializing with my friends. All my friends were church people. Even after we got married, our friends were still church people. Okay. Congregations nowadays, people come here, and they see that we counted the other day, I think we had, 29 or 30 kids? Okay, here. And that doesn't include the ones that really don't come. There's a few more we could have added. So we have a lot of kids. And hopefully these kids will get together as they get older, and they'll be with one another, and they'll develop the friendships, and it helps solidify their faith in God. It did me. But my kids, my youngest kid, when we went to church, he was the only kid in the church. You know, he's not as grounded in the faith as my older kids are because of that reason. And I blame myself for that, to be honest with you. But yeah, in a perfect world, yes. But we don't always live in a perfect world. Again, I'm just trying to get you to think. So, yes.
I think a lot of it, though, you know, we can blame whomever we want. But I think a lot of it comes back to the home. If we're not training them in the home, then yeah, they're going to do whatever. I mean, some of the kids in the church, when I was growing up, were the worst kids. To be honest, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
You know, they were doing stuff that I would have never thought of doing. But I knew if I did that, when I got home, I was more afraid of my dad than I was of the rest of those.
Oh, yeah. I remember those days, too.
So when my kids were growing up, I took a lot of the blame. I didn't expect at school, I didn't expect the church to raise my children. I raised my children. And if I'm a Christian, I'm going to raise them the way the Bible says to raise them.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the schools raise the kids. I'm just saying the influence of the schools.
There's influence.
So we should be raising our kids.
Be more than theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're my kids. I used to ask mine, what'd you learn today? And that's part of the problem. I think the kids come home, we don't ask them anything, they go to their rooms, they do whatever. You know, we need to know. It goes back to me to a story I heard years ago about a young kid that would come home from school and would ask his dad about dinosaurs. And his dad would tell him, I don't have time right now, I don't have time right now. Well, by the time the kid got to college, guess Dad would never answer any of his questions. Okay. So, I think a lot of it is what they see at home. I don't know what exactly always the fear of the Lord means, but I knew when my dad said, you better not do something or do this, he was gonna put the fear of the Lord in me.
Yeah.
You know, so, I don't ever try to blame anybody. It comes back to, how am I raising my kids in my house? What are they learning there? That I have control over. I have control over what they learn in school. You get far enough, people go down and what? Start protesting. And that's what it takes. The parents gotta stand up for it.
And I think that's what he's saying here is, in the home, you've got to raise your kids. Hopefully, you raise your kids right, that when they get into these outside influences, into other activities outside of the church, outside of the family, they're indoctrinated enough that they can withstand that. They've been, you know, I've got a vaccine, they don't get sick. But it's, I don't know, it's hard. Okay, yes. Hang on a second. I got Alice here, I'm sorry, and then I'll get Annette. Okay, yes.
Like he's saying, you know, I know when we were teaching our kids, it says fathers don't provoke your kids to anger. You know, it's a way to teach your children. You know, you teach them with love. Like he said, you take time out to spend time with your children so they can get to know you just like you
Sure.
get to know them, what they're doing as they're developing. And I know things that I taught my daughter, and it was, you know, based on scripture. You know, don't take money that doesn't
Sure.
belong to you. If the person gives you more money than you're supposed to get back, I'd make them take the money back, and they would cry, oh, please don't make me go back in here, you know, but if it was a nickel, and my daughter tells me now, she says, your voice still rings in my head, you know, if something occurs that she knows that she's not supposed to do, my voice rings in her head. And because she respects what I taught her,
Mm-hmm.
she is inclined to do the right thing. So, as he's saying, it starts with us,
Yeah.
the way we bring our children up in the relationship that we have with our children. If we have a good relationship with our children, they're not going to be so easily influenced by someone else.
Okay. Annette?
You made a remark earlier, and I don't know if you were joking, but I don't agree with it.
That's okay.
You say your kid can go to school and have a sex change before they come home.
In the state of California, the school district could take your kids and take them to a medical facility and start the changeover without you knowing about it. Most people don't realize that because they don't tell you that. Look into it. No, wait. I don't want to get into it too deep. But this is not just in the state of California. There's other states where the hospitals have come under attack because they are allowing it in the hospitals without the parents knowing about it. You don't. If Daphne was 13 years old, or even 12 years old, and wanted an aspirin, you couldn't give her an aspirin nowadays in school. She gets her own aspirin.
Well, I'm saying, you can't even send peanut butter or medicine to school, but you're saying the schools can do a sex change on your child?
Theoretically, they could. They can start it.
They did start it in New York.
Yeah, it's happening. And I wasn't, Ned, I wasn't teasing, and you can disagree with me on that too. That's okay. I'm just telling you, I wouldn't tell you something up here that I hadn't already looked into. So.
That's a child that's easily influenced by someone else, not their parents.
And that could be, I don't know, I've never heard of a church member being that way, but all I'm trying, we're going down a wormhole. All I'm trying to say is we need to be careful who is around our kids as we bring them up and be mindful of the pressures that they have externally than they're getting from us. We have a responsibility to do that, and that's all. Michael.
Well, I think maybe the biggest influence might be the phones. I saw a meme, it was kind of a joke, but it said the cure to transgenderism is deleting TikTok. Because that's where kids are learning a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
They're getting more influenced by TikTok than their parents or the church or things like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of the influence,
Yeah.
more than the school part.
And God's against transgenderism in the Old Testament.
If I could add to what he's saying.
Yeah.
I see what my kid is, he's 8, and he showed me this game where you go through it and choose different things, and one is, oh, choose boy or girl, and you choose boy. So you go through another, oh, choose, you want long fingernails or long hair, and it'll give you long hair. You go to another one, oh, do you want a pair of pants, or do you want a bra? So you can
Yeah.
choose to be a boy and make more changes by entering the drink.
I had a friend of mine who was LAPD. He worked gangs. And he told me that most parents have no clue where their kids are at. He worked gangs, the Bloods and the Crips. And if you saw Andre, he big, tall guy, played football on the football team at the LAPD. And he told me of a situation that had just happened with him where they're investigating a kid, and he goes into the house and talks to the mom. And he's talking to the mom and says, and the mom says, well, my kid's not in gangs. He don't dress like that. He don't act that way. And he says, could we go look in his closet? They go to the closet, and it's a completely different situation. Whatever colors he was, the whole closet was either red or blue, and all the other paraphernalia that he would have as a gang member was there. Shannon, his neighbor across the street, she has some emotional problems. And she was in junior high, and she gets bullied. It's bad. She tries to commit suicide. And the mother called the sheriff's department and made a complaint about the bullying. The sheriff went to the parent's house and says, I have a complaint that your daughter has bullied a kid and blah, 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 blah. And she says, no, my daughter wouldn't do that. Can we see her computer? Yes. Right there on the computer where she'd been bullying the kids, not just her, but other ones. So, I'm not I'm not an alarmist. I'm not sitting here, the sky's falling and whatnot. I'm just saying, on anything in life, we can be too close to it to realize it, or too far away and ignore it. And that's what I'm saying, okay? It's tough today. And, like Alice said, each society has its own problems. Ours are just magnified a lot more, like Mike said, because communication is instant. Think about this. When you were in school and you had to write a book report or you had to write some kind of report, where did you go? Library. Encyclopedias, right? And you had to research and look it up. Nowadays, you just push a button and it's right there in 2 seconds. Believe me, I use it a lot to find scripture. And it works, because my mind's on what it is. So that's all I was saying. So it was a good discussion. Okay, verse 4, provoking your kid. Fathers, do not provoke your child to anger, but bring him up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. I'm kind of like Larry. I didn't want to be on the wrong side of my dad. My head still has a number of knots from getting hit and that wedding ring putting upside my head. Now, nowadays people would say that's child abuse, okay, but that's called back talking when I was a kid, But provoking to anger, I don't know if there's a fine line. What do you guys think? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. My dad would, he would get upset over the little things, the stupid things. Oh, he would yell and scream and carry on and whatnot. But serious things, he was quiet. You know, and I'm kind of that way too. I get excited and I'll scream and yell and carry on with my kids. Then I shut down. But in a situation where something very, very serious, you as an individual can't handle a decision if you're emotionally upset and carrying on and ranting and raving, right? So with something serious, you need to sit down and think about it before you say something or before you act in a way. So, yes, John?
You know, I've never seen my father angry, out of control. But everything before punishment or anything is always a teaching. Always a teaching, a lecture, why are you doing what you're doing, so forth and so forth. And so we said, provoke them not to anger. You need to let your children know why you're doing this and train them before you implement punishment. And so that's how I think how you do it. If you're gonna be angry, go in another room and get it over with, and then come back with some cool.
Well, everybody gets angry. I have the lesson this morning, and we're going to talk a little bit about a guy whose anger burned towards an individual.
You don't have to show it, that's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I don't think you want to be out of control, and your actions don't want to reflect you being out of control. But being upset, being angry at something, sometimes does good, in my opinion, because they know you're upset. I've done something wrong. What have I done? If I know what I've done, okay, I did it.
Upset, but I mean, out of control. He'd be in anger, but nothing outwardly expressing, exploding, anything like that.
Yeah. Because God was mad at Moses.
Yeah, but
Can you tell me where?
when he spoke that rock, though, to speak.
That too. And the time before that was when? Remember a bush? It kind of was burning and didn't get consumed. And when was Jesus angry? Money changers, yeah. So, I mean, it's human nature to be angry, but you don't provoke and you don't take it that extra step.
But you know, you got to study your kids. You got to put some time in and find out who they are and what they think about how they feel. You got to invest in them. That's how you.
Sure.
You know, if you don't invest in them, you're not gonna know anything.
Sure. Sure. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, in it.
I think there's a scripture out there that say you can be angry but do not sin.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, don't let the sun go.
Yeah, don't let the sun go down on your wrath, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other? I think I'm just going to stop there, and next week we'll finish up the chapter. Yeah. Yeah, we're going on 10:15. All right. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add?
I think parenting is difficult.
Yes.